When I first heard YouTube CEO Susan Wicky was appearing on Sunday night's 60 Minutes for an extended interview, I was hopeful I might finally get some answers. Like, where does that super chat money that YouTube deems hateful actually go? What so-called charity specifically? And is it actually legal to bait and switch consumers like that simply because you don't like the words they said in a message? And why has YouTube backed its own independent creators who viewers actually like into their own ghost town, never to receive a single recommendation from the site again? Why is YouTube deciding what news sources are supposedly valuable instead of, well, you, independently, as the name says? Isn't it possible, even likely, that public frustration with your so-called authoritative news sources is exactly what's leading people to YouTube as an alternative? Why would you murder your own market niche? Speaking of creator mistreatment, why are you making criminal accusations against us but never following up on them? It's as if those accusations weren't honest at all, just convenient. And crucially, will I ever actually learn how to correctly pronounce Susan's last name? And maybe even spell it? No, of course not. Of course we aren't going to get answers to questions that YouTubers and people who enjoy YouTube actually want to hear. Nobody's going to ask the obvious umbrella question of, hey Susan, why are you censoring so damn much? Instead, we get the exact opposite from some nanny who doesn't even understand how the website works, let alone watch any of it. Instead, we get, hey Susan, why aren't you censoring enough yet?
You recently tightened your policy on hate speech. Why'd you wait so long?
Terrible leading question. Why'd you wait so long? That presupposes that more censorship is obviously the right thing to do. That's a given. And Susan is late to this obviously right thing.
People are uploading wonderful things like
funny cat videos.
And look at what we're talking about here. Are you worried that these dark things are beginning to define YouTube?
How about freedom defines YouTube? And you can decide for yourself what's too dark, Granny, and you can turn it off and leave the rest of us alone. But did you catch Susan's gulp there? This is the gulp of someone who knows these questions are bullshit, but still has to maintain the progressive talking points anyway. This is a gulp that says, okay, there's only one way out of this, Susan, and it's not talking sense. I gotta out-bullshit this bullshitter to maintain favor with the Silicon Valley leftist monoculture, but I can do it. This is my moment. I got this. This journalist is CBS's Leslie Stahl, and that's really what this interview becomes. A social justice heavyweight title fight between the internet's queen censor and her overbearing mother who's never satisfied and always disappointed. I tuned into the match fully expecting to hate Susan even more than I already do, but after watching it, I think I give the belt to Leslie Stahl. This was a phenomenally terrible interview, and I think the framing and the questions were mostly worse than the answers. Stahl frames the story with what she says are Susan's two primary goals: turn around the bottom line of a historically unprofitable operation, as well as cleanse the site of hate.
Google bought YouTube on her recommendation for over $1.6 billion. And 8 years later, she became CEO with a mandate to make it grow and make it profitable. But the site has come under increasing scrutiny, accused of propagating white supremacy, peddling conspiracies, and profiting from it all. YouTube is being forced to concentrate on cleansing the site.
No, they're not being forced. They are being pressured by hack journalists like you who, more and more I'm convinced, aren't actually out to report any facts or truth to the public. They're just out to destroy competition that's kicking their asses. Case in point, I think Stahl and CBS are smart enough to realize that these supposed dual goals for Susan are actually contradictory. They're in competition with each other. That messing with content people enjoy is hurting the company's bottom line, not helping it. That's just intuitive. Why would you undermine the reason people come to your business? That's like McDonald's eliminating the Big Mac and insisting you actually go there for spaghetti. Copyright Mitch Hedberg.
I say cheeseburgers? Nope. We got spaghetti.
I really don't like to assign malice or bad faith, but I'm running out of alternative explanations. Stahl grills Susan on a standard of political speech that CBS itself does not uphold.
YouTube also makes money from political ads. Some of them have been used to spread lies on social media. Can a politician lie on YouTube?
Politicians are always accusing their opponents of lying.
Well, can a politician lie on CBS? Do they not run these same ads on CBS? Is there even a such thing as a politician who doesn't lie? And don't these politicians who lie all the time have a platform on CBS news broadcasts daily and nightly? Isn't CBS earning money from these advertisements in exactly the same way? This isn't any standard of truth or falsehood. This is just a standard of, hey, your website is attracting eyes and ears that we'd like to hold. Give them back. Stahl observes how YouTube's hate enforcement has been pretty ineffective, at least in her judgment so far.
We have had hate policies since the very beginning of YouTube.
But pretty ineffective.
She also notes how it's basically impossible to make the distinction between what's hateful and what's acceptable, because it's totally subjective.
Susan Wojcicki showed us 2 examples of how hard it is to determine what's too hateful or violent to stay on the site.
But then she complains about how material doesn't get deleted fast enough. That slowed down Nancy Pelosi video, and the whistleblower's name are still findable on YouTube.
We just did a search, and there it was, still available. The company keeps trying to erase the purported name of the impeachment whistleblower, but that too is still there.
And the Christchurch shooter's stream was also posted.
Copies of that footage were uploaded on YouTube tens of thousands of times.
Well, maybe if they weren't pressured to police the wrong opinions all the time, YouTube could devote resources to policing what actually matters, illegal content. The point is, Stahl keeps saying that this hate policing is an all but impossible task, but then insists that Susan keep banging her head against this wall as though it's just a matter of trying harder. Come on, Susan, pull that noose around your neck just a little bit tighter. You know, just like Epstein definitely did. Anything otherwise is a conspiracy theory you have a responsibility to purge. This is just an effort to get a competitor to kill itself, nothing else. But maybe you're still not convinced. Maybe you think Leslie Stahl is well-meaning, perhaps misguided. Consider this exchange, where Leslie Stahl throws freedom of speech, the entire basis for her job, under the bus just to go after Susan.
But the private sector is not legally beholden to the First Amendment. You're not operating under some freedom of speech mandate. You get to pick.
We do, but we think there's a lot of benefit from being able to hear from groups and underrepresented groups that otherwise we never would have heard from.
CBS is a private company as well, also not beholden to the First Amendment in the strict legal sense. But isn't a news organization founded on the underlying philosophy of the First Amendment that free speech is a good cultural value because it ensures that the truth, no matter how unpopular it may be at the time, has a free opportunity to compete and to rise? Isn't that the basis for journalism, Leslie? Isn't that why you're here? To expose truth from power that would much prefer it buried away from the rest of us by force? Well, no, as long as the authority deems the truth hateful, there's no harm in burying it away. Okay, lady, but you just buried your own integrity too. And that's why I can't take Stahl as an honest or principled actor. It's just rules for thee, but not for me. I'll do anything to punish you, even if it means completely undermining myself. And if you catch me on my hypocrisy, I'll just do some fraudulent moral posturing as a quick smokescreen before moving on. But that's not to excuse Susan Wicky either. Stahl's questions were terrible. But so were Susan's answers most of the time. Susan talks about having to balance free speech with responsibility.
We have been working really hard to figure out what's the right way to balance responsibility with freedom of speech.
Wow, yeah, that is a tough one, but here's how you do it. Freedom of speech gets all of YouTube's weight since YouTube is a speech platform, and responsibility is not on this scale at all, because responsibility is on your own scale, the individual user. You can decide for yourself what to watch. That's not Susan Wicky's job, and it's totally subjective anyway. But Susan keeps flailing as though this responsibility to stop hate and lies could ever be objectively defined or enforced, which produces ridiculous and indefensible outcomes. Susan says a Hitler speech is banned because of the name of the uploader.
It's totally historical footage that you would see on the History Channel. But she took it down. Why?
This word down here that you'll see, 1418.
1418 is code used by white supremacists to identify one another.
We work with experts and we know all the hand signals, the messaging. What are they really trying to say with this video?
Okay, am I out of the loop? I'm not even asking rhetorically. I honestly don't know. I'm aware of 1488, obviously, but since when is 1418 Nazi code? And according to whom? It's not in the ADL hate database. There's no mention of it from the Southern Poverty Law Center. In fact, when I Google 1418 and white supremacists, the only reference I get is this interview. Who are these experts you consulted? Because they don't exist on the internet. Besides that, you're saying the Hitler speech is fine if the uploader's name is Fluffy Bunny instead. That is until white supremacists co-opt Fluffy Bunnies, of course. But do you not see how this standard gives Nazis the power to control the content that the rest of us can see? If they adopt Mr. Rogers as a symbol, for example, is Mr. Rogers now banned as Nazi propaganda? She applies this same ridiculous logic to a video of a Syrian prison beating. Since I'm not sure if my channel counts as a 1418 or a Fluffy Bunny, I have to blur the video to avoid Susan's wrath.
These are prisoners in Syria. You could look at it and say, well, should this be removed because it shows violence, it's graphic, but it's actually uploaded by a group that is trying to expose the violence.
So she left it up.
What she's saying is the exact same content could remain or be removed, not based on any objective content criteria, but based on Susan's personal character judgment of the person who posted it. If she likes you, you can post Hitler speeches and Syrian beatings all you like. If she doesn't, that exact same content will be deleted. And all the while, she obliviously says that discrimination by businesses is a universal moral wrong.
So if you're saying don't hire somebody because of their race, that's discrimination. That would be an example of something that would be a violation against our policies.
The entire policy you just described and enforced is discrimination. Viewpoint discrimination. Arguably not even that, just discrimination based on whatever you happen to make up at the time. Fewer rules for people Susan likes and more rules for people Susan doesn't. And by the way, be sure to check back tomorrow for new rules invented on the spot and retroactively enforced. But hey, it's a big plate of responsibility for Susan. She has to manage 10,000 people whose sole job is hate watch, a job so traumatizing they need counseling to endure it.
Google as a whole has about 10,000 people that are focused on controversial content.
I'm told that it is very stressful to be looking at these questionable videos all the time, and that there's actually counselors to make sure that there aren't mental problems.
We try to do everything we can to make sure that this is a good work environment.
Yeah, okay, minimum wage to watch ISIS videos is still a cushy job. Don't tell me these people have it rough. But the other problem is these hate watchers are being convinced by the hate.
I also heard that these monitors, reviewers, sometimes they're beginning to buy the conspiracy theories.
I've definitely heard about that. We work really hard with all of our reviewers to make sure that we're providing the right services for them.
Counseling and reprogramming for people who get paid to do what anybody else isn't supposed to do at work. Watch YouTube videos all day. It's no wonder this operation can't make any money. But if these reviewers are being convinced by the so-called conspiracy theorists, why isn't it possible that they're not actually being tricked at all? Why isn't it possible that these so-called conspiracy videos are actually well argued, well cited, and convincing? Why isn't it possible that Susan is just one person, equally capable of being dead wrong on any particular subject as the rest of us? Why isn't it possible that decentralizing her power is actually the best approach, rather than handing her some all-powerful mallet and demanding she whack every mole on the entire planet? So here's the solution for you, Susan. Normally, I don't like to tell people how to do their jobs, but since you have no hesitation telling me how to do mine, let's just return the favor. Step 1, stop bowing before hack journalists like Leslie Stahl. They're out to destroy you, not report on any truth or facts. You're a threat to them because your business is much better than theirs, and they know it. You have the leverage, not them. So act like it. Step 2, stick up for America. Say, hey, Leslie, we're an American company. And as an American company, we uphold American values. If it's First Amendment protected speech, it has a home on YouTube. We're only going to police illegal content. Other than that, we are a content neutral home for anyone to speak his mind. And step 3, if you don't like it, Granny, you can click away to a knitting video or just shut down your computer entirely and go bake some brownies for the grandkids. I don't care. What you watch is your responsibility, not mine. I'm not your mom and you're not mine. I just run a business and you can decide for yourself whether you'd like to engage with my business or not. And this isn't just the morally or philosophically right approach, it's the only practical approach. If you want to run a platform where anyone and everyone can post a video instantly.
We have 500 hours of video uploaded every single minute to YouTube.
It's simply not possible for 10,000 reviewers to enforce the correct opinions anyway. Put those limited resources where they matter. Illegal material. Anything otherwise is just wasted time and money down the drain. But hey, at least we did learn something today. If you'd like the free speech experience that YouTube ought to be, just change your username to upstanding citizen with morally righteous opinions. As long as you do that, apparently, anything goes. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.